Where do we go with Arsenal here? Because it's very interesting. Very interesting the way that they are going to approach the second half of the season, because their momentum. I spoke about it last week. So if you want to hear my full thoughts on Arsenal, go back to last week's episode. I spoke about them at depth, or in depth, I should say. So when we just look at what they need, it's blatantly obvious, in my opinion. I think when you look at what Arsenal need, you need to look at the weakest areas in terms of depth. It's striker and it's centre mid for me. Now, striker is a, potentially a more pressing issue right now because, of course, the absence of Gabriel Jesus, Eddie Nketiah is your next striker who's been playing, and after that, I don't really know who they've got. Of course, they could move Martinelli up there and maybe get Fabio Vieira involved somehow, or they could move Fabio Vieira to play as like a false nine, maybe, if they want to do that. But yeah, if we look at what they at the bench, let's look at the bench of the Arsenal game of the Brighton game, I should say. They've got no backup striker. Maybe Marquinhos. Maybe, I doubt it. I mean, he's played one game for them in the FA in the League Cup, and he played on the right. So he isn't a striker. They don't have a backup striker. However, I think if Eddie Nketiah gets injured, I think they can get away with it playing Martinelli up front a little bit more than what they could if Granit Xhaka or Thomas Partey get injured. If Granit Xhaka and Thomas Partey get injured for a month, 2 months, I just don't see El Neni and Lokonga covering enough for them. And I love El Neni. I think he's great. I really do. I just love the idea of Mohamed El Neni, and I just love that he's stuck around and he potentially at the end of the season could get a Premier League medallion, a Premier League winners medal around his neck. But the Congo as well, I just think he's maybe 2 or 3 years away. So when I was looking at midfielders for Arsenal to get, I was like, okay, they need someone who can both sit like Partey and move slightly further forward. Like Xhaka, not overly expensive because I don't think they're going to break the bank this January transfer window, and is willing to take that step up in his career. That has experience in big games, that has experience around big players, and it fell to one man who I actually thought of this morning. So I had to change my run sheet a little bit, but I've gone with the Bayer Leverkusen defensive/central midfielder Ezequiel Palacios. Now, a striker is a main issue for them as well. I 100% agree, but I just think a midfielder, if Xhaka or Partey go down, like I said, they're going to be well and truly stuffed. So Ezequiel Palacios from Bayer Leverkusen is a good, cheap option that has proven himself to be more than capable at elite European level, can play the both Partey and Xhaka role very well, versatile both with the ball and without the ball. He's physically capable to handle it in the Premier League. Still 24 years old. Was in that Argentinian squad that won the World Cup. So he's been around the big players in high pressure scenarios. So in the crunch end of this Premier League campaign, he'll understand how to handle these big games, how to handle the clutch moments and the high pressure games. I just think he could come in and be a very, very shrewd signing. Of course, January. When I think of January transfer window, midfield signings for Arsenal, my mind goes back to the Swedish magician that was Kim Kallström. So hopefully Palacios can be slightly better than him. But if we move to, let's start with his FB ref. Actually, let's start with his average positions. If I could speak, that'd be great. Let's start with his average positions. What you see here is exactly what I was speaking about in terms of he can do both. He can sit like Thomas Partey, but he can move forward like Granit Xhaka. He can be that more aggressive defensive midfielder, but he can also sit. And I think this translates brilliantly over with his stats. Like I said, or like this shows, nothing exceptional. Nothing exceptional by any means. However, he's got defensively tackles, 3.2 tackles, 1 per 90, ranking the 93rd percentile of midfielders, 1.60 interceptions and 1.60 blocks, ranking the 85th and 83rd percentile respectively, whilst also having 5.46 progressive passes and 65.55 passes attempted per 90. both ranking in the 91st and 85th percentile respectively. What this shows is that he can get onto the ball in deep areas. Now, what Thomas Partey is for Arsenal, right? Is that he's not only, as my camera is struggling to focus. Here we go. What is Thomas Partey for Arsenal? Not only is Thomas Partey a defensive destroyer that puts out spot fires, that makes sure that there's no easy chances going through to the defence. He's also their first layer of attack. He's also very comfortable on the ball in order to recycle possession, be that fulcrum in midfield to just pass it around, triangles with the centre-backs, with the full-backs, moving it slightly further forward with Xhaka and playing those progressive passes, right? I think, is that not what these stats show? A player that is brilliant defensively, willing to stick a foot in, willing to get down and dirty into tackles and really to put his foot in, but is also capable enough to pick up the ball, spray it around comfortably on the ball, and just very comfortable in possession. Those 0.22 non-penalty goals per 90, ranking in the 92nd percentile. Once again, grain of salt, of course, but that shows that he is a little bit of a goal threat if he was to play in that Xhaka role and to break slightly further forward. He won't be overly cheap in this transfer window by any means, but he won't be extremely expensive as well. He won't be extremely expensive. He should go into this Arsenal team and give them that extra layer of security that they do need, that they really need. And what only does this do is that it actually gives them. I know he's not a 10. He's definitely not a 10. He's more of a 6 than he is a 10. I would say he's a box-to-box midfielder, but I would say that he's a defensive box-to-box midfielder, if we're going to be very pedantic about it. I just think that he has the ability to play both the Xhaka and Partey role, which gives the license for Odegaard and the license for those attacking players to just be a little bit more free. I know it's probably 1%, 2% max, but it could just give them that extra bit of impotence to just be a little bit more free and be a little bit more expressive going forward and to get the best out of their abilities. I just think Palacios, bring up his average positions. Look, it just solid. The word that springs to my mind, solid. No fuss, no dramas, no carrying on, no flamboyance about it, no flashiness. Solid. Was in the Argentinian squad, didn't play a massive part in it by any means, but just solid. So yeah, I think for Arsenal, Ezequiel Palacios is the guy for them. Whether or not they go for a centre mid or whether or not they value a striker over a centre mid, who knows? Either or, it's going to be a very interesting way to see what they value. I think that's going to be very interesting to see what Mikel Arteta values more in his squad, the striker position or the centre mid position, because I know they're in slightly different positions where they have their star number 9 out and they don't have their star midfielder out, but I just feel if Arsenal get an injury in midfield, it's going to hurt them a lot more than since they've got the injury up front, if that makes sense. I don't know exactly on the stats. Let me know in the comments if possible. But have Arsenal started a Premier League game this season without Xhaka or Partey? Has that been their midfield double pivot for the entire season? I can't remember games where they haven't started, to be honest. Both players have been arguably in their top 5 players this season. Xhaka's reinvented himself. Partey's arguably one of the best defensive midfielders in the league. I just think Ezequiel Palacios is the guy to give him that extra bit of security and to give him that rotation as well. Because I wouldn't buy Palacios and just wait until Xhaka or Partey get injured for him to play. I would bring Palacios in and play him ahead of Xhaka for a game. Give Xhaka a break. Give him the week off. Let him go on holiday. Give Partey the week off, right? Just let these players rest. Let them rejuvenise. Let them revitalise for the back end of the season, which is going to be very intense, very high pressure, and that's a positions where Palacios has been involved in for quite a while. I mean, is there any higher pressure than the World Cup, right? He was in that squad. He knows what it's about. He knows how to get the job done. Granit didn't play, but he's been around players who have played in the biggest game of all. So yeah, that's who I think Arsenal should go and get, Ezekiel Palacios for Bayer Leverkusen. Not a star by any means, like I said, but just a player that will just get the job done. Okay, we're done that. That's an hour.